to the track, the wall, makes the leap, and makes the catch! Amazing catch by Junior! He got it! A perfect game! 13 strikeouts. And Bonds hits one high! It's a game! It is out of here! 7:56! What a special moment for Barry Bonds. Swinging a long drive, deep to right, going, goodbye. He has done it. He has changed the game of the night with one swing of his bat.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Champions Adjust podcast. My name is Aaron Machbitz. Right next to me, if you're watching via YouTube, is Coach David Bodzin. This is episode number 38 of the Champions Adjust podcast, and we cover all baseball-related things on this podcast, but specifically youth sports, youth baseball, mental performance, mental health, mental skills, sometimes Major League Baseball, sometimes the World Baseball Classic like today. But we will talk about what we see and coach and hear about and just feel being baseball coaches pretty much every day of the week.
Do you want to hear something exciting?
I want to hear something exciting.
My microphone's green again.
His microphone is green again. We got new mics. We're loaded up. We're ready to go. You should be able to hear us very, very clearly.
Yes.
And see us if you are on YouTube. But if not, thanks for listening.
We've used this
on the
before.
audio platforms. Yeah, we used this
with the do's and don'ts.
We used this for our last episode, which was Sports Parents Do's and Don'ts, which was a very well-received episode.
Yes, thank you for your support.
We're going to just keep doing those type of episodes, sprinkled in with some other stuff, news around the baseball world, which we're gonna kick it off with that right now.
What are we talking about?
Coach Bodzin, initial thoughts, feelings, reactions to World Baseball Classic.
Oh my God, it is the most fun I've ever had watching a baseball game, truly.
Why?
You have, first off, the bullshit, bigger bases, pitch clock stuff is not enforced in this, which I'm vehemently against. I don't like it. I think it takes away from my experience as a fan and a lot of people. It gives me anxiety, actually. Watching a game and seeing a clock countdown gives me anxiety. I don't need that when I watch baseball. Aside from that, you have your all-star teams, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Japan, United States of America, Canada, and then you have your Great Britons and your Czech Republics and your Israels, who don't have big-time all-star players, but they're trying to grow the game of baseball in their country. And so, you see you jump on Twitter after any injury, you're always going to see something, they should have done this, done that, done this, done that. But especially during the World Baseball Classic, which has been just a huge home run for the Major League Baseball in terms of revenue share and the fans. Like, oh my God, the amount of viewership for Japan versus Korea was tremendous.
65 million people.
Yeah. Better than any World Series game last year. So, I'm excited. Tonight is, when you listen to this, we will know the result of the Japan USA game. They're starting a lefty against this tank of a lineup. But yeah, it's just, I've been around this game for a long time, Aaron. And I think it kind of like, I'm talking about from 15 years on, my fanmanship was tainted. I've very few times in my life can I watch a game as a fan because of how closely I've been related to this game. Whether I was working in professional baseball, Division I baseball, or just coaching the game, I know a lot of the guys who are playing. It's just weird for me, and I have trouble relaxing and watching it as a fan. The World Baseball Classic for me, though, is very similar to the All-Star game, but it means something.
Right.
And it's consistent, and there's camaraderie. And it is the first time in years I've felt like, man, since 2017, that I'm a fan of the game.
Amazing.
And that's something that I haven't felt since my dad was alive and watching the game with him. So this is, I watched the World Baseball Classic in 2017, the year that he passed away. The last few games I watched with him was World Baseball Classic when USA won. And so this tournament to me, it just holds a special place in my heart for my dad, but also, and for more long term, it just allows me to not look at it as, hey, they're going to do this, do that, do this, do that. Hey, I know that guy. Hey, this is probably what's happening behind closed doors because money ruins everything. and just hey, they're playing for their country.
That's cool.
The Olympics got rid of baseball.
Right.
And this is what we have now, and they're playing for their country, and it's just, I mean, man, last night's Japan-Mexico game
Was it incredible?
was just phenomenal. You have a kid who's 23 years old. He's the Japanese Babe Ruth. He's struggling at the plate, and then he just gets one hanger. Game over. And the runner at first base, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce on this, got from first to home in 10 seconds.
Yeah, he was absolutely flossing.
Like, he almost caught Ohtani.
Shohei.
Well, in fairness, Ohtani had a chest too because he had the he knew he was going to score if it landed.
Right.
So he could do that. But the guy behind him was not stopping.
No, he was like, I'm winning this baseball game.
And it wasn't even close. Like, he went first to home on a gapper, and it wasn't even close. And how often do you see a runner on first score that easily without a play at the plate?
There's usually a definite play. I mean, we've been working on double cuts as a
Yes.
team, and they were set up for a double cut.
They were. And it just didn't work because they had to go all the way because a cut would have killed another 0.5 of a second. And that's way too much time.
Right.
Like, that was just tremendous. And I'm really excited for tonight's game. I got Lulu went and got all my lessons were canceled tonight because of the rain, which disappoints me. I love working with the kids. But at the same time, I get to watch the full game. Lulu got a giant bottle of Prosecco for us, so we're going to be drinking that while eating whatever we eat. And I'm excited for it, man.
Great. I mean, it's also the first World Baseball Classic with your son.
Yes, he has.
You might not remember, but
it's kind of cool.
Cherish the memories forever.
Sure. No, it's kind of cool that during the games in Tokyo, he was up and I'm up, and so I would put him in front of the TV, and it was the first time in his life that he actually knew that something was on in front of him, because he was a month when the World Series was going on,
right?
And he didn't care, but now he's like, oh, there's stuff going on. He doesn't understand it, but it's cool to watch baseball with him.
Yeah.
And we were watching Japan versus Korea actually together.
So, as you know, my girlfriend, Ree, she's from England, and they don't really play baseball in England.
Sure.
So when we were watching the World Series in October, she was like, why is it called the World Series if it's only American teams?
It's like Miss Universe. Are we including Mars? I don't get it.
She was wondering, like, she was like, because baseball is not a popular sport really outside of a couple countries,
Sure.
which is who have the All-Star teams basically in the World Baseball Classic. And she was like wondering why it was called the World Series. And so I'm thinking about that now. That question popped up in my head now that we're thinking about the World Baseball Classic and it actually being the world.
Right.
And seeing how these other countries are super underdeveloped in the game of baseball and how we can bring that sport to more countries.
Right.
Because ultimately you just need a field, a stick, and like a little rock ball thing.
Sure.
Right? Baseball is now it's become
Universal.
much more like all our kids have to have arm sleeves and arm bands and
Yes.
baseballs and new gloves and this bat and this thing and this thing and this thing. Because that's where our culture has gone, where we always need the best stuff all of the time to make ourselves look and feel good, which there's a point to that. But baseball really is, in a nutshell, is Sandlot.
Yes.
Is go to a field with your friends, manage to scrap 9 gloves, manage to find 1, maybe 2 baseballs, and a stick that
play.
you can hit with, and go play with your friends.
Like they do in Dominican. Venezuela.
It's a really simple game. That's why soccer is played all over the world.
Venezuela
It's a
was
simple
another
game.
All-Star game, by the way.
What?
I didn't mean to bounce out. Venezuela was a great team as well.
Yeah, that's why soccer is played in all of these great countries as well. And so I think baseball can be that sport, And so it's really cool to see the World Baseball Classic have all of these teams. It was really cool to see Team Israel compete. Coach Bodzin and I have made it our mission in 4 years to be a part of Team Israel in any sort of capacity, maybe in a mental skills capacity, maybe as a pitching coach, a bench coach, not as a player. I got to get my shit together if that's ever going to happen. But I've been playing in a lot of men's leagues, so
Yeah,
I
you
think that
have.
might prepare me for 97
Sure.
on the black.
Sure.
No, but we're saying that out loud to sort of prepare that, manifest that. But I think the World Baseball Classic is exceptionally cool. And you see a lot of people talk about the downsides of it because a couple major stars have gotten hurt. But that doesn't... Yes, it sucks for them, and that's awful, but it's the game of baseball. It's a sport. Things happen. People get hurt all of the time. And so we can't not do the World Baseball Classic because someone might get hurt. That's like telling your kids not to go play at the park because you might get your knee scraped. Go
Right.
fucking play at the park.
Go play the game.
Please get your knee scraped. Let's go. Have some scratches on you. And so the game is amazing. You can see these fans have traveled across literally the world to Miami to watch their teams play, to watch their countries play. And it's like, it feels like there could be, like we could be one human race based on just baseball.
Baseball, man.
And that's weird to say because it's just like a sport you do with a ball. But like when people have a common bond and there's a common thread to be able to pull on, we can have more understanding with each other. And this world needs that because we're very divisive and things are really heated in a lot of places and a lot of things. And not to say that sports or baseball will change the world, but it could change people's hearts and minds in a way that might make them have a conversation. Oh, you like baseball? You watch the World Baseball Classic? Oh, this. Maybe we can get to the root of something. Like, there's always common ground that causes deeper conversation because you have to feel like you're like that person you're talking to.
Yeah.
And so I really love the World Baseball Classic. Obviously, we love baseball, so we love anything that has more games that are super intense and fun to watch, and guys are playing hard and in the midst of spring training and the not real baseball season, the Major League Baseball season will start next week and all these cool things. So if you haven't watched any games, I encourage you to go back and watch them because by the time you see this,
It'll be over.
It'll be over. And
Fun fact, I recorded every single World Baseball Classic game. And it's sitting there on that TV right there.
you can come over to Coach Bodzin.
Come over to my house.
And he'll crack open some Prosecco that's no longer available after tonight.
It's just true. But I will have some Body Armor sports water. So we can drink some of that.
That you bought on the way home from Kilgore.
Yeah, but I finally drank it.
I'm glad you're drinking.
Oh, by the way, I think I got my car keys are in your car.
Oh, really?
I forgot to. I've been saying it now on the podcast so that we don't forget, because otherwise I'd forget.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know where
You
they are.
haven't driven it at all?
Oh, I have another set of keys, but those have my house keys on it, so I probably need this back.
All right, another topic I wanted to discuss was we just had our sort of opening weekend as coaches, right? We did a couple weekends of inter squads with our teams, and then we had this Mafia weekend, which is sort of like the kickoff weekend until we start going into official tournament season next week.
Like scrimmages with umpires.
So what do you think about the weekend? What are some of your things that you noticed, initial thoughts, general ideas?
I think I was not a huge fan of it beforehand. I was just like, why are we doing this? Why can't we do this at home? Like, why do we need to go to Kilgore and stay in hotels to play teams that we'll never see again? And that was a closed-minded, hey, I don't want to leave my family response, is what it was. But being there, and we'll bypass the thing that it was a perfect game weekend too, which could have been cool, but it just wasn't because it rained and it just wasn't able to come together. But to me, and you know my thoughts on perfect game. But to me, it was a really cool opportunity for the kids to get to know each other. You know, it's hard to coach a team that doesn't know each other. It's hard to coach a team that you don't know. Early on in the season, you're doing a ton of stuff that you're kind of throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. And if it doesn't, you take it on the chin, you move on. And I took a couple things over the weekend on the chin and moved on, which is good because it needs to happen, right? I just noticed the kids getting to know each other and getting along with each other, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I also, from a baseball perspective, saw a lot that we have to work on and a lot that we're successful at. From my team specifically, I do want to give a quick shout out to one person. Can I?
Do whatever you like.
Carson De Silva.
Sure.
Carson De Silva is, what do you think he is, like 5'9", 5'10"?
No, he's a tall kid.
Like 98 pounds? Yeah. Like, he's not a big dude. He's a tall kid, but he's not a big kid. Like,
he's over 100 pounds.
Okay, fair. He's like 101 pounds. After he gets out of the shower.
Anyways.
He used to tell me, like, now he might be 55 pounds, dripping wet. I'm like, okay, guys, whatever. Anyways, he went up against what is perceived as a national team, which is a bunch of really good hitting guys who are being looked at as potential Division I players. And Carson is, again, not the biggest guy, and he's a softy lefty who I work with on the side as his pitching coach, which is, why I'm even more proud of him because I've gotten to know him on a personal level. And watching him go up on the mound and throw 3 strong innings against these massive dudes, and he's just fastball, changeup, curveball, two-seamer, left, right, in, out. It was masterful to watch. And he did not feel as himself, and we can talk about this as a subject here shortly, that he did well because he saw the score. He walked a couple guys, he hit a couple guys, and he throws the ball 40 miles per hour. They can get out of the way of the ball, but they chose not to. I guess they didn't want to hit. But I was really impressed with his demeanor and his F it attitude. Like, F it, these guys are way bigger than me. I don't care. I'm going to get these guys out. And for the most part, he did. And also, the first outing of the year is always the toughest.
Right.
Nerves and jitters are up and going. But he didn't mind. And I wish that I could, just shake him and say, hey, you did do a great job. I guess, I was really impressed by him and his grit, and I'm really excited to see what kind of season he has. And that's probably my only shout out I'm going to give on this podcast is Carson De Silva going up against those guys, and he carved him up, man. It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
That's my tidbit.
Anything else you noticed from players?
Give me some examples. I don't know.
I mean, always I think on the first weekend of games, one, you talk about getting to know one another. I think it's kids trying to get to know what their coach is like. Because it's a different situation, right? We've been coaching these kids for a bit now, right? Since February.
Sure.
But we've just been doing some drills and practices and scrimmages. And it's a totally different beast when you get inside what you perceive to be a real game. Like, if I make this mistake, if I do this thing, if I strike out in this count, if I throw this pitch, how will my coach react?
Sure.
So kids are learning that. And once they do learn that, it can go a multitude of ways. So a kid learns that if he makes a mistake, strikes out looking, strikes out at all, gets out, makes a ball, how his coach responds. Oh, his coach responds by screaming, yelling, and throwing buckets of baseballs. Okay, so now the pressure is on tenfold. So as a kid who's 14, and all this stuff on social media is about Division I scholarships and scouting and rankings and this and that and that and this, the 14-year-old boy already has insurmountable amounts of pressure on himself. He expects perfection, and we can talk about both of those things. They're not bad, but how you use them is how you figure out where to navigate. So he already has that amount of pressure on him, similar to Carson, right? Thought he didn't do good, even though he did do good, but his outcome wasn't what he thought he wanted. Because we expect a perfect game every time we pitch.
Yes.
And so now I realize that my coach is one who throws buckets of baseballs, gets yells and throws his hat, but says, hey, it's going to be all right. So his demeanor is not that way, and I only align with his actions. So his actions say, I need you to be perfect. So the kid now has doubled down on trying to be perfect, and he doesn't play loose or relaxed at all throughout the season. He's tight. His butthole's tight. His hands are tight. Everything is tight. And now every play is live or die. So if a kid has played with that type of coach since he was 10 years old, how do you think he's going to be able to change so quickly when he gets a new coach? Similar to if you had parents who did that and you've grown up in a child and this sort of relationships you have, right? It all plays a part. So now we get to year 14 and you have a coach, in both of us, in Louisville, in Sims, who do not yell very often. We yell when absolutely need to be.
And even then,
and I
don't think any of us yell. We just
forceful, passionate.
Yes, passionate communication.
So
and
now,
I'll throw a few F-bombs in there because of it. But
right, sure.
I'm not
so now
yelling.
The opening weekend is important because kids are learning how we respond.
Yes.
So I did strike out. My team struck out looking quite a few times in the first game. Your team struck out looking quite a few times with guys on third base. Right, all of these things. We didn't make our defense played exceptionally well. I think
all of our defenses.
I think pitching was really good too.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with us struggling at the dish. I was a hitter.
Yeah.
I know how hard it is to start the season off and just all of a sudden be on time. I went over my first 20 in my college career. I've been in slumps, so I know that deal. So now kids are learning that we respond in a way that's not adding pressure to them.
Right.
So they have to learn that and relearn that this is appropriate. This is okay. Okay, so I did this. The coach is not adding pressure to me. He's fine with it. He's not fine with it in a way that I can keep doing it.
Sure.
But he's fine with it in a way that he's allowing me to get better. He's not going to rip me from the game, and he's not going to chew me a new asshole and embarrass me in front of people.
Yep.
He's saying, let's work through it. What better approach can we have? What can we do outside of the game? How can we reflect upon this? What are some things we can do as a team to make it a better unit for us to succeed more often? And so I think the first weekend of tournaments with a new coach, some of your guys on your team aren't new to you, and some of the guys on my team aren't new to me,
Three
of them.
3 of them. 3 for you, 2 for me.
And so that makes it better because those guys can back up what we're saying.
Sure.
they say, yes, this is actually true.
Yep.
Yes, I wouldn't be back if the things he's saying weren't actually true. And so then the first weekend is important in that regard. And it gets a little bit easier as you go, because now when your kids do strike out with a guy on third base less than 2 outs, they know that you're upset with them, but they also know that you want them to do better next time, so you're going to encourage them and support them through that.
Yes.
By telling them how they might be able to change their approach, a choke-up, change your step, read the ball out of the hand, whatever the case may be is. And so I think the first weekend of tournaments is important for that, learning the coach, and then we're learning the players. What's your best position? Because you can sort of see it in a scrimmage setting, but that's not real speed. Not a lot of people are going full speed, which we want them to, but they're not.
We also see how they react to failure.
Right?
And how they react to our specific coaching styles. Like, I'll give you an example. I probably hyped my team up a little too much before our third game. It was going against the national team. I do feel my team is very athletic. They don't really know their style yet. And so I got them hyped up. And I probably psyched them out a little bit. And, my post-game speech, I took that on the chin. I said, hey, I'll take that. That was on me. I did a poor job. You guys were relaxed until I talked to you. And now you were not relaxed. I will do better. Because I learned my kids' coaching style a little bit more. Right. And they learned my coaching style a little bit more. And I saw how they handle pressure in certain specific situations. And they saw how I handle poor performances. And that, to me, coaching to me is, my style of coaching is less about the defensive alignments and more about the psychology of, hey, we work on a lot of this stuff on Wednesdays. Let's see you practice it. I'm not going to do a ton with the alignments. I might, depending on the wind and what I've seen before. But for the most part, let's just see how you react. And then I'll come talk to you about it. We're okay. And then after the game, I might rip into you a bit because I thought that was a piss poor performance. But I'm not going to do that during the game because it's not productive to anybody, right? Which I did not do after that third game. We got our butts kicked. But it was because they played really well and we just didn't.
Right.
And I think that's the coolest thing about Mafia Weekend to me, actually, is that it wasn't a true tournament scenario. It was 3 games set with no championship. You're going to play these 3 games, see what you got, and I did. And now I know a lot more about my team. Right. And we haven't played a tournament yet.
Yeah, it's all a learning curve. It's all a learning curve. And so now, hopefully with that sort of first weekend done, that the kids learn and we learn that we can be loose, we can be relaxed.
Yes.
And we can let things flow, and mistakes will happen, they come and go, and how can we adjust and pivot and regroup from those things moving forward, and then how can we as coaches put our players in the best position to succeed as often as possible.
Yes.
Because that's our job. We want to put you in the best position to succeed as often as possible. So when things happen that we don't do well, like you did, if I send you stealing and you get caught, that's on me. I told you to go. If I send you around third and you get thrown out at home, that's on me. If I put you in a situation that I'm sort of iffy about and you get hit really hard, that's on me.
Yep.
If I say the wrong thing, if I do the wrong, that's on me.
Yes.
All I expect from my players is 100% effort, hustle, energy, and play as a team and care about each other. That's it.
Absolutely.
So that you learned that through the first weekend, and I was proud of my boys and impressed with how they played, and it was a fun weekend overall. So it's good stuff. Good stuff. Anything else to add, Coach Bodzin?
No, excited for this weekend.
Yeah, we're loaded up for this weekend. We'll hopefully be back, as soon as possible with episodes every week.
Are we already done?
Every other week, but...
Are we done with this episode?
If you have more to say.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to talk a little bit more. Oh, gosh. Sorry. I didn't know you meant, like, wrap up.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about that, the, like, idea of I didn't do well. Well, it's relative, right?
Right.
Like, I have several players, names I'm not going to name because it's not necessarily a positive connotation. It's like, hey, how do you feel you did? Well, not very well. Okay, well, let's talk about that, because what does well mean to you? What does good mean to you? It's all relative. Because from what I saw, you were awesome. considering the scenarios that we're in. Mm-hmm. But from where you're sitting, you were expecting the world in the first weekend after XYZ happened before that you had to fight your way back from. Mm-hmm. So I think at a certain point, you need to manage your expectations of a baseball player and realize that playing great in March and playing great in June are two completely different levels of play.
Right.
And it's okay to fail, especially early on. It's always okay to fail. Just learn from it. But it's okay to fail and make errors and strike out looking with a runner on third and 2 outs in March. Those are the mistakes you need to make in March so that you can get the feel for the game again. Doesn't make you a bad baseball player. Doesn't make it a bad weekend. It just means that you have some stuff to work on.
Right.
So manage your expectations. So ball players, if you're listening to us, you're one of my players, one of his players, one of the players in the 5-star or anywhere else that you might be playing
in the whole world.
Manage your expectations for yourself, considering what you've had to work up from and where you're at right now, and understand that perfection does not exist. There's always room for improvement to get better, which is why it's important to look at what you did well, what you could do better, and how you're going to get better. Mm-hmm. And that's all I got on that.
Yeah, because it's interesting, that point, because you do want a guy. You always sort of want a kid who says, I did all right.
Yeah.
Because the simple fact that they know they can do better.
I got a whole fucking team of them, man.
Even when they did really good.
Yeah.
Like I used to do that. Hey, Aaron, you went 3 for 4, 3 doubles, and 4 RBIs. That one at bat, though. Yeah. Right? We always do that. That one inning. That one pitch. That one whatever, sure. Right? So we want to be able to keep that competitive, fiery instinct, but also be able to reflect a little bit deeper on our actual performance. Right? And so in the midst of a game, that's hard. So when a coach just asks you how you feel you did, you're going to sort of get like a random answer. I did all right. Dude, you just you threw 4 innings with 1 run, 6 strikeouts.
Sure.
I did all right.
Yeah.
That's okay. Sure. But when the game is over, then we have to actually do some thinking about it. We have to actually reflect upon our performance in a way that's productive for our next performance. Okay, what did you actually do? What did you actually do that was good? And you have to recognize that because you want to continue doing those good things. And so if you don't congratulate or respect or acknowledge yourself for doing those things, you're not going to repeat that behavior. It's the same if you're in a relationship. Coach Bodzin and I are dating, and we're getting dressed up for dinner. And he comes out and he looks fantastic. He dressed, he cleaned his hair, he wore a new shirt, and I say absolutely nothing. I don't recognize the fact that he put in any effort at all for getting dressed up for me for our date. Is he ever going to do that again? Maybe once or twice, sure. But not after that. Not
less
if I continually say
motivation
nothing.
To do it. Sure.
But if I recognize him for being like, you look freaking awesome. You look beautiful today.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that for me. Yeah. I'm so excited to have this date with you.
Sure.
I know that's hard when you've been married for 60 years.
Sure.
But that stuff is extremely important.
I tell my wife that every day. Hey, you look beautiful.
So we have to do that same stuff for ourselves. Coach Bodzin showed up today. He worked 8 hours. He didn't have caffeine. He took care of his baby. He had less, all this stuff. Whatever you're doing, I showed up. I swung at good pitches. Whatever it is, whatever small you think that thing is that you did well at, you have to recognize it.
Yep.
Yes, there's days where you barely got out of the first inning and you didn't even get an out.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you do well?
Sure.
Well, I stuck to my routine in warm-ups.
Good.
But I just felt off in the game. Okay, what can we change between routine that was good in warm-ups, between stepping on the bump? Okay, I had 4 strikeouts. And I just had really bad at-bats. Okay, I said this last time, but I sprinted out to my position every single time. Great. Okay, then you look at the things, what you want to improve upon. Okay, now you have to get really honest. Really, really honest. Was your prep step good? Were your routines good? Had you get good sleep the night before? Did you care about your teammates? Did you wash your jersey? Did you have all these things prepared, ready to go? Did you do some imagery? Did you do visualization? Did you do all the things that you normally do to try and succeed at your fullest? If you did not, what can you do better out of next time? And then you make a plan on how. So it's a simple thing we do with our kids all the time. Well, better how. But you have to actually get very real and concrete with these things. Congratulate yourself for doing the things you did well. Get really honest and in real reality with the things you didn't do well. If you went over 4 or 4 strikeouts, you have to think about that. You have to sit in that muck for a little bit? What was your approach? What was your routine? Did you see the ball out of the hand? Did you not swing aggressively early in the count? Were you just fooled? Was it a shitty day? Was it all of the above? Okay, what can we do to change that next time? So those 3 steps seem very simple, but they're extremely important when actually thinking about the reality of your performance. And then based on those things, based on that work that you do, you then take those real expectations into your performance. Yes. If you have a guy who's hitting 0.079 for the season, and your expectations to hit 4 doubles every game, you're gonna be fucking miserable.
Yes.
You're gonna be miserable.
Contact. Just make contact.
But maybe your goal is to see 4 pitches this at bat instead of striking out on 3 pitches. Maybe your goal is to just hit the ball past the pitcher. I don't care if those goals seem small and dumb. They're reachable and attainable, so that means when you get them, you can move past them. And there's an actual progression of you moving towards the ultimate goal of becoming the best baseball player you can be. And so that's how you sort of control your expectations. That's how you get real on your performance, and that's also how you keep your competitive advantage and fire about thinking that you're not that good. Because when you think you're the best, but you can always get better. The best can always get better. And so that's very important, and that's what I want to say about that.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I think that's good. Now we can, I think it's a 30-minute episode. I think,
now we can wrap.
Anything else? No, we're good.
Great.
Hey, real quick, do you think, we'll say this in the podcast, I love talking about this stuff in the podcast, doing What Better How?
Well Better How?
That's what I meant. Well Better How? Mm-hmm. Like in my post game.
Like hey, with your players?
Yeah. Like, hey.
Like I do it as a team.
Yeah.
In my post game, I asked the whole team what we did well, what we did better.
I'm saying bring your notebooks and you're going to sit down while I wrap all my stuff up and look at things I want to talk about. And you're going to have 5 minutes to do your well, better, how.
It's just, it's too close to the game.
Okay.
So I like to do it just as a team unit.
So I can do it tomorrow, for example.
And then you either want to tell them to do it that night before bed or the next day, 24 hours after the game.
So it's just too much time to do it tomorrow.
Yes. No, tomorrow is great.
Okay. So that's what I'll do during my
You can do it anytime, but I think just like immediately after the game.
Figure my practice time. Cool.
But now if you play a Saturday and a Sunday, you want your kids to do it. You don't really want your kids to do it in between those days.
No, gosh, no.
Because then they're just going to think about all the things they did bad.
I was thinking doing like Saturday. I was thinking like Sunday after the game.
Yes.
We'll talk about the weekend.
Yeah, you want to talk about it as a team and then have them do it for themselves with their journal. So that's good. But this is episode 38 of the podcast. Thanks for listening. We're trying to be back here as consistent as possible with all the stuff we got going on. But check out champsadjust.com for all your merchandise and mindset needs. But we appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time. And always remember that
Champions Adjust, baby!